The focus of this video is on function notation. So you're going to look at something very similar to what you see here in the middle. And so I just kind of want you to understand what the pieces actually mean. So this first part, this f right here, this is the name of the function. It is not always f. You will very commonly see f, but you'll also see g, h, I've seen s. It could be any variable, any letter, because it's just a name. So just be prepared that f actually isn't a variable. It's the name of it. This x, first of all, it's formally known as the input. And it pretty much tells us what to plug in for x in the equation, or in the function. Let's use function in the function. So essentially, if you see a number here, that tells you that wherever you see let's try this again. So normally there's an x here, okay? It's not usually a y, it's normally an x. So that means that the x that's here in the function and the x here, they kind of go hand in hand. So let's say you were to scribble out this x and put in a 1, then everywhere in this function where there used to be an x, you would also scribble it out and put a 1. So it kind of, they kind of work the same, that like if you change 1, you have to change the ones in the function as well. Okay, let's talk about just kind of the whole pieces, right? So now at the bottom here, we're talking about this set right here. This is like formally called the output, okay? So essentially when you plug in a value for x here, it's going to equal something over here. It's not going to equal f of x anymore. Like if x is 9, when you do 3 times 9 plus 4, you're going to get an answer, an output. So a lot of times, or before this point, we usually just called this the y value. And that pretty much is the same thing. Okay, so essentially what you get, answer you get after substitution for x, okay? So the whole thing is the output, or the y. And then the last part would be, this part right here. So when we're talking about this, for example, 3x plus 4, this is the actual function. Okay, so for example, let me just show you 2 iterations of this. So let's say you have g of x equals x plus 1, okay? The name of the function is g. The function, the actual thing that's happening with these points, let's say, is x plus 1, okay? And if I were to change this and write g of 1 equals, and you had to fill in the rest right here, you would write 1 plus 1, all right? So essentially, the x value is 1, and the output, or the y, is 2, and we're trying to write these as coordinates. Okay, so it's essentially a more confusing way of doing something you've done before, if that makes any sense. Like you've done input and output values, you've made tables, you've plugged in something, you substitute out, but the annotation sometimes can make students very confused, okay? So this annotation tells you what to sub in. When you did that, you got 2 here, or I got 2. This would be known as the output. So that's what that was talking about over there. So I hope that kind of clears up a little bit. It's not as confusing as it may seem. This is translated into the same thing as like an input-output table. So let's say, for example, you were given the function, I don't know, let's say s of x equals x squared plus 1. All right? So actually, let's change this to x squared plus x. That'll be more fun. Okay, so what that means, if I were to make myself a function machine, and I'm not a very good artist, so I apologize. What that means is the rule is happening inside there. So the x squared plus x, and the input is something you're putting in, and once you put it into the machine, it substitutes in and it throws out something outward, right? So let's say you were given the example of s of 2. Well, when you throw 2 in, this machine is doing 2 squared plus 2 and getting 6, and that's what's going to pop out. So 2 went in, 6 comes out. So 2 is known as my input. And 6 is known as my output. So sometimes you can write s of 2 is 6. Okay, because when I plugged 2 in, I got 6 out. All right, so trying this next question is asking you to illustrate these two with a function machine, and it wants you to use the function from above, from up here, but give that a shot. And then as you move forward, it's giving you, again, different functions and asking you to do some computation with those, just at different types or whatever, different names. So give those a shot, just getting used to like function notation. When do you have the input? When do you have the output? And how do you kind of maneuver through there? If you have any questions, as always, come ask.